Apex Legends is a fantastic game. I'm pretty confident in saying that it's my favourite Battle Royale game so far, and I really like everything that Respawn's done with it, pretty much. That being said, the game isn't perfect, and I kind of feel like we're now just coming out of the sort of honeymoon phase, and you start to notice things that maybe irritate you or could use some improvement with the game. And so I just wanted to make a video about the things that I feel Apex Legends needs to improve on to maintain its popularity and build on what is already an excellent foundation. So I've tried to order these in terms of their significance and the priority with which I think they should be looked at. In short, Apex Legends' netcode sucks. Now, I won't spend too long on this because I don't understand this stuff well enough to talk about it intelligently, but I will link to a couple videos from a channel called Battle Nonsense below that go over what netcode is and how it affects your experience in-game, and then a specific look at Apex's netcode. But the long story short is that it is among the worst of all the Battle Royale games out there. What this means is that you can essentially be penalised for having a good connection to the game. It results in all kinds of weird inconsistencies, like occasional super fast death times and being hit when you're behind walls and stuff like that. And just generally, poor netcode can be a death sentence for an online-only game, and it's something that can impact player experience in such a way as to make the game infuriating to play, and not to mention unfair. So, in my mind, this is the number one issue facing Apex Legends at the moment, and I think it should be Respawn's top priority. Now, like I say, I don't understand enough to know how to go about fixing this, so I don't expect it's going to be a quick job, but it would be nice to maybe see some communication from Respawn, letting us know that they are aware of these issues and are actively looking to improve the game's netcode. So, the second major issue I see with this game is the hitboxes. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the hitboxes and plenty of suggestions to fix the issue. There was an image that floated around showing the different sizes of hitboxes. But if you've somehow not heard about any of this, the problem essentially boils down to the fact that the legends in the game have different size hitboxes, with Wraith being the smallest and Gibraltar being the largest. And Gibraltar's hitbox is over twice the size of Wraith's. Now, the problem is also a bit more complicated than this because some of the legends have more sophisticated hitboxes that fit properly to their model, while others don't. So, take a character like Bloodhound, for example, and you'll find that you can shoot between his legs and kind of in the space between his arms and body, and if you do that, the bullet will miss, as you'd expect, based on the way his character model looks. But with a legend like Pathfinder, despite the fact that his model appears to have quite a large space between his legs, if you shoot through that space, it actually registers as a hit. So you end up with some characters where their hitbox kind of fits their model properly, and others where their hitbox is this kind of amorphous blob that ends up being even larger than it needs to be, which is especially a problem when the characters are already different sizes to begin with. Now, in the Pathfinder example, I think the reason for the disconnect between that model appearance and how the hitbox operates is due to the different skins that you can get for the character, and some of which have different shapes and actually kind of do have bits of character in the what would otherwise be spaces in the other skins and stuff like that. But the real problem that arises is just that the characters with the large hitboxes, your Gibraltars, Causticks and stuff, they're not really compensated in any way. I mean, Gibraltar and Caustic are arguably among the least useful legends already, and then they're lumped with this kind of oversized hitbox, making them just a massive target, much easier to hit, and they're just going to go down easier in a fight. Now, all the legends move at the same speed, and they all have the same health pool, so you're essentially just getting some legends who are more difficult to kill than others, with absolutely no downside. Now, naturally, in a game like this, with kind of hero shooter elements, some heroes are going to be stronger than others, and they're going to fit in the meta better than others will. But as it stands, I think the hitbox issue kind of proves to be a pretty unacceptable power balance that needs some attention. Now, luckily, the devs have responded to this. Some of the Respawn devs, in a recent post on Reddit, acknowledged the issues with the hitboxes, and they kind of explained that they are working on a fix, and that the idea of having different sized hitboxes in the different characters is actually part of their original vision. but they do agree that the balance isn't quite right at the moment. And the first change they're going to be working on is to reduce the size of the hitboxes for the larger characters so that they better fit their models, and then they're going to assess from there. If that proves insufficient, they say they're going to consider tweaks to how those characters receive damage and also the overall effectiveness of their abilities. Now, I think that actually could be a pretty decent fix, and the idea of changing the way they receive damage could be an interesting one. If they do that, I think I would like to see at least that the headshot hitbox remains the same, but perhaps the main torso hitbox could have higher damage resistance on the larger character, something like that. Anyway, it does seem like the issue's in hand to some degree, so it's nice to see. And I do like the fact that the devs are trying to find a way to balance the characters around their size without just giving them more health, because I don't think that would be a positive change for the game at all. So my next issue is a pretty simple one. I personally feel that 60 players in a lobby is too few. Apex Legends suffers from the same mid-game slump that so many other Battle Royale games suffer from. And I've often found myself in games where after the initial drop and fight for loot, I find myself just wandering the map, not seeing anyone for a really long time. And I think this simply comes down to player density. My solution to this would probably be to up the squad count to 25, which would up the total player count to 75. I think that would probably be a pretty good initial test. I don't necessarily think we need to go for the full sort of 90 or 100 players necessarily, but it is worth noting that the netcode issues I mentioned earlier, some of the issues actually arise from the way the game handles data packets and how it delivers data packets to players. And so upping the player count would be quite likely to exacerbate that situation. So the netcode issue is definitely of a higher priority. But that is one of the issues that I kind of see is the current player count. And those are the three main issues that I really see kind of facing the game, and those are the things that I would mainly like to see improved in Apex Legends currently. There are a few other little things that would be nice to see implemented. So the first one would be being able to join back into a game that you're disconnected from. Now, Apex Legends is definitely not immune to connection issues, and it can be very frustrating to be kicked out of a game due to a crash and then not being able to rejoin. I think it would also be nice to be able to vote to play again as a team if you're playing with a randomly match-made team, and also maybe a way to add those other players that you've been matched with as friends from within the game somehow. And then beyond that, you know, there's always going to be balancing issues that arise and need some attention with games like these. But I'm not going to go too far into any of those because, to be honest, I kind of trust the development team at Respawn to come up with adequate fixes for that stuff more than I trust myself. You know, they're experienced devs who have the benefit of being able to playtest any proposed changes and see how they actually work. One thing I will mention, which kind of does relate to balancing, is how ammo is distributed in the game. With the long time to kill that this game has, there is a pretty major discrepancy among some guns in how much of a magazine it takes to put an enemy down, and it results in some otherwise very good weapons like say the R99 SMG being quite frustrating to use when you're looking at like half a mag or more just to down one enemy. Now obviously this can be improved slightly with the extended mag attachments and stuff, but I still don't feel like the balance is quite right. And you know, there's been a lot of times where I've died to an enemy despite getting the first shot on them and landing a decent amount of my shots, simply because then I've been forced to reload, during which time they've managed to finish me off. And that can be quite an irritating situation to be in. And then on top of that, some weapons just quite simply require less total ammo to be effective, which means that you've got more space for healing items and grenades and stuff. And it can be really annoying to find yourself in a situation where you're forced to stack tons of ammo at the expense of being able to carry things like grenades just to make your weapon viable. Now, obviously, I do understand that some of those gripes come just inherent to the Battle Royale genre and the kind of random loot system that they operate on. And like I say, I'm not entirely sure how I would even go about changing this. I would say maybe for the ammo thing, you just need different stack sizes for different ammo types. So, you know, light ammo, for example, does less damage per shot than heavy ammo does, but you're still limited to 80 per stack on both. So maybe there could be some sort of balancing there. Like I said at the start of the video, I really like Apex Legends. It's my favourite Battle Royale game so far, and pretty much my game of choice at the moment. But that doesn't mean it's perfect, and these are just a few of the things that kind of my humble opinions on how this game could look to improve. So if you have any ideas for how Apex Legends could improve, let me know down below, and I will see you next time. Cheers.